Good. Welcome back, everyone, towards our next session, in which we're going to talk about a very fascinating topic to me, which is AgTech. How do you use data and digital transformation specifically in the agriculture sector? It is my great pleasure to welcome Navin from MDEC, who is going to be sharing his ideas and knowledge with us. Thank you so much, Navin, for joining us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jan. A very good evening to everybody out across the globe. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful session because it's touching a sector which it's not close to the heart, but rather to the stomach, the digital agriculture sector. So again, my name is Navin. I come from a government agency called MDEC, Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, the acronym being it. We report to the Ministry of Communications and Multimedia in Malaysia. So, long story short, MDEC is responsible in driving digital transformation across the nation to boost the digital economy of the country. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I know you're so excited to share to learn a bit about data and agriculture, or even how it's related. So, let's go. So the topic today is empowering the agriculture sector with digital AgTech solutions. AgTech is a big word, but to make it simple, how does data affect or manipulate the productivity of farmers on a daily basis? Yep. So let me know, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you have ever been to a farm and you have at least spoken to a farmer, just ask them one simple question. What are the challenges that they face on a daily basis? Ladies and gentlemen, they will literally end up laughing at you. Why? I've actually been faced that situation in many times, whereby the reason why they laugh is because every single aspect in the agriculture sector is very manual based, and it's a challenging problem statement by its own. But we at MDEC, we tried breaking it down to four aspects, rather, or four problem statements, which is a global trend: low productivity, low interest, especially during the with the younger generation, low self-sufficiency, and decreasing GDP contribution. Now, this was a global trend. It got worse with the pandemic. Yeah, why? Farmers were not able to go to the farm to fertilize, to fertigate, to spray pest controls. Uh, Worse, even farmers did not have access to the data points of their farming parameters. Now, ladies and gentlemen, again, why the agriculture sector of focus today, now at this event? Simple. One of the most traditional sectors across the globe is definitely the agriculture sector. In comparison to manufacturing, retail, so on and so forth, agriculture is far behind in terms of digitalization or even data-driven empowerment. Yeah. Now, with digital or even data-driven, the whole outcomes that we intend to achieve, or I would rather say we are already achieving, is increasing productivity, increasing participation, especially with the younger generation, enhancing food security, which is now right now a global threat, rather, because there's scarcity of food across. And last but not least, to boost the digital economic growth. Now, with the support of key stakeholders that you see at the bottom, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industries, known as MAFI, the National Farmers Association or Authority, Department of Agriculture, we, through the initiative called Digital AgTech in Long Agriculture Technology, have actually done various pilot projects in the space of data driven to empower farmers to increase productivity, reduce operational costs, and of course, increase their income. Now, from a farmer's perspective, end of the day, what they are more interested is how can data increase their productivity, how can data increase their income, and of course, reducing operational costs. Yes, I am aware of the term food security. Ladies and gentlemen, food security is a very complex topic, rather. But to give all of you all a very simple equation, we at MDEC focus on productivity. Wonder why? Now, if with data-driven or digital tech solutions, farmers are able to increase their productivity. By increasing productivity, they are obviously going to earn more, which is going to increase their income. By increasing productivity, the national dependency on food import will actually decrease. By decreasing food import, of course, expenses go down, and that, ladies and gentlemen, will boost the digital economy of the nation, at least from the agriculture perspective. So, like I said earlier, the topic of interest, digital AgTech, a pilot initiative done by MDEC in collaboration with key ecosystem partners. And it's a true honor to share at Big Data Days 2022, organized by Enterprise Big Data Framework. Wonderful job, exciting speakers, but ladies and gentlemen, let's go on to AgTech now. If you see three bullet points, I know the whole day you'll have seen a lot of words and words and words. I'm going to simplify these for you. Yeah. So when we started doing pilot projects, the first ecosystem that we met was actually the demand ecosystem, or to make it simple, the farmers association. Yeah. Now, because problem statements come from them, they are the subject matter experts in this space. Yeah. So they told me, hey, Navin, we would love to adopt data driven. We would love to use data because at this point of time, ladies and gentlemen, the fact on the ground, they have tons and tons of data, not knowing how they can actually harvest this data to produce more. So we said, great. Now, number two, we actually went to a lot of data technology partners. In MDEC, we call them DTPs, data technology partners, and said, hey guys, we have a list of problem statements. How can you help to address these problems and come up with proposals to do pilots or proof of concepts? Yeah. Then, of course, these technology partners told us, hey, Navin, we tried talking to the agriculture sector folks, but again, the reception or perception is companies are always known as or always known or perceived as a salesman or an insurance agent trying to sell something. So there was a big gap between the demand and the supply. Last but not least, we also went to the banks and said, hey guys, we are going to embark on a pilot project or projects initiative rather. Do you all have budget to support this? The banks surprisingly and encouragingly told us, hey Navin, we do have a great amount of budget available. But from a bank's perspective, again, from a global bank's perspective, number one, banks are not subject matter expert in the agriculture space. Number two, the banks are not sure which farmer to fund. Or number three, the banks are not sure which data or digital tech solutions to fund. Here, ladies and gentlemen, MDEC became the bridge between the demand, the supply, and the enabling ecosystem. So then we started doing pilots. So enough with all the words. Let's talk about more colorful data-driven initiatives. Yeah. The name of the program, Digital AgTech, it's a pilot program on how we infuse technologies, IoT, Internet of Things, definitely data, and even artificial intelligence into farming for four very, very simple outcomes as you see in the bottom of the screen. Number one, how do you use data to increase productivity? How do you use data to improve quality of crops? How do you use data to reduce operational costs? Some of the images that you see there, these are some of the pilot projects that you've seen. For those of you who are actually having dinner while watching the webinar, if you look on your plate right now, technically speaking, everything that you are eating right now has been piloted using data driven projects, solutions, or even digital based solutions. In Malaysia, we have now carried about 15 projects from the time span of about 4 years right now, and we have trained about 1,500 farmers. So the Digital AgTech initiative by MDEC has two parts. Yeah. Number one, we do a lot of pilot projects. Number two, we also train farmers on how to use technology or even how to use their data. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, if you go to a farm and you tell the farmer, do you know how much are you fertilizing? When are you fertilizing? How much are you watering? How much are you irrigating? How much are you spraying? They have all the data. They do. However, when you ask them one simple question, okay, with all this data, can you tell me how is it going to affect your productivity? They will actually look at you in a very blank manner. Why? Like I said, they have that amount of data, not knowing the true potential of what this data can do for them. Yep. So the Digital AgTech Labs is to train farmers. And ladies and gentlemen, it's also an honor to share that MDEC has been officially appointed as the National Strategic Technology Validator by the Ministry of Agriculture, whereby every single digital AgTech solutions out there in Malaysia right now has to be reviewed, validated, approved, or even piloted by MDEC to show that the solutions are feasible, the solutions are sustainable, and the solutions are scalable. Yeah. Now, when you talk about agriculture, not having a food menu right in front of your screen does not make much sense too. So, ladies and gentlemen, the food menu for your eyes. 99% of the screen, the list that you see on the screen right now, these are all data driven solutions. Of course, you'll have thoughts, wait, data driven, but how, when, what? Sure, let's delve then into further that. Yeah, so let's look at the slide from the left. We started off with chili plantation because Malaysia is currently heavily dependent on chili. So we did three different projects for chili: data-driven fertigation system, data-driven pest control, Malaysia's first artificial intelligence-enabled chili grading. Moving on to greenhouse green vegetables, aquaculture, chicken poultry, pineapple plantation, last but not least, palm oil. So we wrapped up 2021 in the midst of pandemic with our palm oil project. So, ladies and gentlemen, you will have two questions for me, or at least you are thinking of two questions for me. So, question number one, Navin, this is nice, but how does MDEC pick the crops? Answer is we pick crops, or we do not pick the crops. Rather, these crops are selected by key stakeholders, which is Ministry of Agriculture, Department of Agriculture, the National Farmers Authority, and so on and so forth, based on three factors. Number one, readiness of technology adoption or readiness of data driven decision adoption. Number two, dependency on food imports. Yeah, if you're already producing too much, then perhaps the focus is to focus on something which you are heavily importing. Yeah. Number three, in terms of scalability. For example, Jan, I'm just going to use your name with your permission. Jan says, "Hey, Navin, I would love to go into carrot plantation." My question would be, okay, Jan, could you tell me in your respective country how many carrot farmers are there? If the numbers are in terms of 5, 10, then it's obviously not feasible to do a project. A project is scalable means in terms of hundreds or at least thousands. Yeah, so that more and more farmers will adapt these solutions to improve their productivity with data-driven decisions. The list of the boxes in blue, these are locations in Malaysia where these projects were deployed. As we speak right now, we have an additional 10 drone tech projects happening. We have an additional 5 agriculture projects happening. And it's also an honor again to share that agriculture is one of the focus verticals in MDEC. But besides agriculture, we are also expanding now to healthcare, retail, transportation, tourism, education, so on and so forth. But the reason why I specifically picked agriculture because last but not least, people will actually think agriculture and data. So when you talk about data driven, people will talk about manufacturing, people will talk about retail, because these data are very much important to them. But at least you know that data are actually more crucial to the farming community rather than manufacturing. Yeah, how do you do that? Sure. I'm going to skip this slide first and I'm going to go to the next slide to show you some thoughts. These are some of the real pictures of the pilots deployed in Malaysia, across Malaysia. I'm going to take you to the picture on the top left, which is the picture with the blue tanks and the black tank. Yeah. So for a typical chili plantation owner or a farmer, the blue tanks consist of fertilizer A, fertilizer B. Yeah. And the black big tank that you see there is actually water. So say Jan is a farmer. Jan is supposed to take 2 scoop of fertilizer A, add that to the water, take the exact 2 scoop from tank B, fertilizer B, and add that to the water, and use a long pipe or a hose to stir it, and then on the pump. Yeah, that's typical operations. And again, these are some of the operations which is currently still being used across the world. Very, very manual based. Yeah. So now the point is, I as a farmer will know the amount I need to take from fertilizer A, the amount I need to take from fertilizer B, and the amount of water I need to stir them together. So probably some of you are wondering, okay, so what? Very good question. Now, by having this data, would you believe it if I say that you are able to increase productivity? Probably not, but sure, let me share a little bit further. If you take 1 scoop or certain milligrams of fertilizer A and add to the water, you are supposed to maintain the same parameter or same measurement for fertilizer B. If you miscalculate, if you take one from fertilizer A and you take three from fertilizer B, you will result in getting a grade C chili, which in Malaysia retails about 3 ringgit. Yeah. But if you are able to control farming parameters such as these fertilizers with correct measurements using correct data, then you are automatically getting a grade A chili which sells at 9 ringgit. So do you see the difference of 9 ringgit and 6 ringgit and 3 ringgit? The difference is manual, the difference is lack of data utilization. Now farmers are actually using data whereby besides using IoT sensors and whatever not, they are able to do five things. Number one, measure how much of fertilizers they want to input, measure how frequent they want to input these fertilizers, measure how much of water or irrigation they want to put in, how frequent they want to irrigate, and measure how frequent they want to do this entire process repetitively. Again, why? As plants grow, they would need different volume of parameters, different fertilizer level, different water level, and so on and so forth, which actually affects quality. By affecting quality, affects the income of the farmers. So that's one. But talking about chili, I'm a foodie, right? So on that ground, let me touch a little bit on chicken, poultry too. So we all love KFC, Nando's, and all the brands of chicken producers. But least do we know, on average, the bird weight is about 1.8 kilo when KFC decides to send a vehicle to transport all the birds to the butchery, right? But with technology, with data, to know how much of vaccines I need to add to the water, how frequent I need to add vaccines, or how frequent I turn on the fan inside the poultry farm. Now, with these data driven initiative projects, we have actually seen improvement of bird weight from 1.8 kilo to 2.2 kilo. Jan is probably laughing at the back and said, uh, Navin, that's a mere 400 grams. Very true. 400 grams is probably close to 10 sweets in a pack, probably. True. But when you do the math, a bird weight averages about 4 ringgit 30 cents in Malaysia. Yeah. So on that calculation basis, that 400 grams additional weight that you are getting with data driven initiative or parameter controls, you are now earning extra 2 ringgit per bird times with 50,000 birds on average for each barn. That's an additional income of 100,000 just like that. How? With data driven decisions that farmers take before they actually control their farming parameters. Yeah, just giving you two thoughts. Yeah, so now with technology or with data driven initiatives, some of this project that you see on your screen right now happening in Malaysia, farmers in Malaysia are able to earn about 2,000 ringgit extra every month per acre. Now in Malaysia, 2,000 ringgit extra per month per acre is actually quite a lucrative number. Yeah. Probably some of you all are wondering, okay, Navid, now when you talk about data, most enterprises, say from enterprises to organizations to associations to the lowest level of denominators, the farming community. Yeah. When you tell them, hey, I have this data driven solution, their only question is, or rather two important question is how much and when is or how long is the return of investment ROI. Now for this data driven initiatives for farming community, we have seen the ROI cycle of 2 years maximum, 1.5 years to 2 years. Now for all the enterprises out there, for all the organizations out there, or even associations out there, I have one question for you, or rather one suggestion. Now imagine data used in agriculture can generate 2,000 ringgit extra per month, which is about 25% jump from the current number to the new revised number with data driven. Imagine how much can data driven decisions improve your operations, increase your revenue, or even optimize your business. Yeah. But agriculture is one of the most easiest sector, which is very, very close to our heart. Hence why we picked it. Yeah. I'm going to go back to the slide that I presented earlier. So on that ground, we have now also trained about 1,500 farmers because doing projects to validate whether data-driven solutions works, it's not enough. Literally, you have to train farmers on how they can actually harvest the data potentials, or what can they do with the data. We have actually done few hackathons where we give all the students, school students, this raw unstructured data, and we tell them to come up with solutions. And ladies and gentlemen, trust me, these younger generations are super good. Their solutions are pretty impressive. But again, coming back to the thought, if a younger generation can produce great solutions like that, imagine great companies who are right now on the call, you will be able to do wonders only with data driven projects. Yeah. Some numbers, again, like I said, 20% improvement of productivity, 30% improvement of income. But I've given you the numbers. Return of investment within 2 years' time for agriculture sector, increment of productivity, 2,000 ringgit extra per month per acre. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the whole idea, at least for the agriculture sector, is to increase productivity with data driven decisions. Now, to just quote a little bit, say, Jan, you are currently residing in Germany. I'm just quoting. Yeah. But Jan has a land in Malaysia when he came to Malaysia previously. Wherever Jan is, Germany or wherever it is, he can now control parameters on the farm through a very simple mobile app. Yeah. He will know how much is he producing, and he will then be able to know how much will he produce in the upcoming months with the current data, fertilizers, irrigation, pest control. How this is what people globally call smart farming. Some people call precision farming. I call it data-driven farming. Yeah. So yeah, to increase productivity, and then number two is to create more jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, we talk about the idea of 3D. Again, I'm not talking about 3D printing here, but rather the perception given to the agriculture sector: 3D, dirty, difficult, dangerous. I know it's going to sound a bit wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. We are now moving from 3D in the agriculture sector specifically to 2D. No, ladies and gentlemen, it's not a demotion, but 2D, I'm talking about digital and data driven. Yeah. So we are moving to digital and data driven. So Jan, from wherever it is, say if it's raining in Kuala Lumpur, Jan will be able to know that on his phone, and he will be able to then say, hey, I can stop spraying, right? As simple as that. Now, because Jan has this data, historical data are even better. Why? They are unstructured, and you are able to predict what's going to happen next, as in how much are you going to produce the next cycle or the upcoming cycles. Yeah. So very simple concepts, all with data-driven initiatives. Again, the whole idea is if we can infuse more digital tech or even data-driven solutions across all the farmers in Malaysia, at least for this concept, uh, we should be able to increase productivity by 30%. Now, imagine we produce more, we spend less on imports. That's going to save the country's expenses. Indirectly, it will boost the country's digital economy in a very simple equation. Yeah. And again, when you tell your children back home, hey son, go into the agriculture space, it's nice, he will probably say, no dad, you're probably out of your mind. But now when you tell them, hey son, would you want to go into the digital tech space, he will probably say yes. Why? They earn great and they produce great. Agriculture nowadays is not about holding a spade or even working under the sun with hot sweat. Nope. It's as simple as looking at your mobile phone at an app, generating data, checking historical data, and predicting upcoming data and producers. Very simple. Yeah. Again, we will not be able to do this alone, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, AgTech is one of the areas that I focus on. But besides that, we also do sectorial projects. Similar approach for all the other sectors: healthcare, retail, manufacturing, education, whatever not. Happy to explore potential projects for technology partners who are actually watching the session right now, or even some demand ecosystem who is watching. Demand are pretty much users or associations or organizations. Happy to explore. Please come and talk to us because, like I said, we no way we can do this alone. we need to work with as many ecosystem partners as possible, because personally I believe if you want to reach the many, you need to work with the many. And why? Because whatever outcomes that you get, whatever positive improvement, productivity, income that you get is actually to be shared for the many. So, ladies and gentlemen, the last slide is actually the most important slide for you guys, because why? The website of the Digital AgTech Initiative is there. Please drop us an email. My name is Navin. Happy to explore. Like I said, we do pilot projects to validate solutions. If you have some interesting solutions, do come and talk to us. Whether so be it data driven, so be it AI or IoT, please do come and talk to us, because we are happy to explore projects together with you. Yeah, like I said, for us to help the many, we need to work with the many. And of course, end of the day, whatever we do collaboratively, it's for the many. Thank you so much. I will hand it over to Jan.
Good. Thank you very much, Navin. First of all, let me say that I'm very, very happy that you chose me as kind of the rolling example in this story. I think Jen, the
Sorry.
farmer, that's kind of stuck. Um, I'm originally from the Netherlands, which is the Low Countries, so there's a lot of farming going on there. And the idea that I could control a farm in Malaysia with just an app, I think is very, very cool. We received a couple of questions online, so I'm going to project them one by one, and then we'll run through those. And then if we have some time, then I also have a couple of questions to ask. Let me get started with the first one, and that is a question which is about education. You know, it's all about education.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you talked a lot about farmers and the technology around it. How can maybe MDEC already has a program for this, but how can farmers learn more about data? What initiatives are there?
Sure. Uh, so, Anna, I think that's an excellent question. Thank you so much for asking. So, question number one is how can farmers learn about data? Now, through the AgTech initiative by MDEC, we do two things. Number one, we do pilot projects. Number two, we also train farmers on this technology, which includes data, telling them what can they do with their data, and telling them how can they tie their current data with systems, be it platforms or mobile apps, whatsoever. Because trust me, when you go to a farmer and you tell them, "Hey, data, data, data," they'll probably look blank at you and say, "Okay," right? But farmers need hand holding, and when you train them, it has to be in a very, very simplified, easy way. Yes, MDEC facilitates the training together with our partners. And number two, I think you also have a question. Is your presentation only applicable in Malaysia? Not really. Currently, we are actually exploring the similar approach of projects across. I can quote you some names: Korea, Bangladesh, Thailand. Yep, we are trying to replicate the same model, because again, it's regardless whether it's Malaysia, or since Jan mentioned Netherlands, or Thailand, AgTech is something that we all
I
need to do.
agree, and I think that one
Cool.
of the main things that I found, especially when you mentioned, is a very fascinating topic because we all see that there's so much demand for more innovative solutions, especially when it comes towards feeding everyone in the world, and with all the climate changes that are going on and changing weather and floods and storms and you name it, focusing more on how can we do this in a more productive way actually probably one of
Right.
the most smartest and most practical forms of data and analytics that you could probably use. Maybe to
Correct.
kind of finish with I always have the honor of asking the last question. Um, from your
Yes.
experience, I'm pretty sure you have seen hundreds or thousands. What is kind of the most fascinating, most cool example of ag tech that you've seen in the last few years?
Okay. That's a very technical
Whatever it is,
question,
I
though.
think you're only
Why?
right.
No worries. Jan, why? Because when you ask anyone, cool tech, right now, the answer is
Sure.
drone. You have drones flying here, and it's cool, the word that you said. uh, it all depends what farmer wants. So I think drones are fantastic solution of using data, being an emerging tech, right? So that's nice. But however, Constraints are drones are only feasible when you use it in large land sizes, say 5 acres and above. Now, in Malaysia, there are also small scale farmers with 1 to 2 acres land. For them, drone would not be feasible. But now, for them, what will be cool is probably, I would say, fertigation and irrigation. You're probably wondering why. Again, back to Malaysia concept. Most of the farmers in Malaysia are fertigation-based farmers. The typical polybags and fertilizers and irrigation. So their problem statements surrounds fertigation and irrigation. So that's why we quickly picked, okay, do you have data for fertigation? Do you have data for irrigation? So Jan, for those who are watching, I'm also going to share a little bit more. Yeah. So Jan, could you just put up your hand or your palm for me rather? Great. Trust me, this is very educational. In Malaysia, if chili is longer than your palm, that's a grade A.
Okay.
If the chili is in between your palm, that's a grade B. If the chili is circled and crippled, that's a grade C. Now, it's probably crazy, but yeah, that's how they measure it. Literally with a hand pointed out and yeah, A, B, C. Imagine I have a data analytic equipment that says, or even machine learning. Excellent example of machine learning. That's what we did for the project in Malaysia. Malaysia's first AI-based chili grading, where image data sets are captured, machine learning algorithms are trained, created, and then it says, yeah, A, this is the length, goes to tray A, tray B, tray C. And back to number two. Now, when you see fertilizer tank A, tank B, say say, okay, I'm going to use me as an example. I'm married. Yeah. So I take fertilizer A from tank A, I add to the water, and then my wife calls and says, hey, Navin, you got to buy this A, B, C, D. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. House
Yeah.
husband chores, right? And then I forget. I forget. I go like, oh, so what I quickly do, I'll probably tell myself, who cares? Yeah. So I will take 3 scoop from fertilizer B and add that to the water. So great. Good news is I will still get chili producers, but grade C at 3 ringgit. Imagine if I use the correct data, that means I match them correctly. If I take three, the same parameter three, I will get a 9 ringgit quality. That we're talking about 1 kilogram. Imagine the tons that farmers produce, and like I said, data.
I think that's a very good example. You're probably also the first person that can make fertilization irrigation a cool topic. Final question to throw out: should I use grade A, B, or C for my lesson lemak?
Oh,
Good.
grade C, grade
Easy
C or B,
there.
grade C or B. Yeah,
Good for our
yeah,
international
yeah.
audience. That's the primary dish that everyone eats in Malaysia. So Navin, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Before I close the session, let me very quickly share with everyone else what we're going to be looking at next. So in the parallel session that everyone is looking at this stage, there is still the machine learning session going on. So that was a 2-hour session in which the professor from our Asia Academy is building a machine learning model from scratch. However, if you've been in this session, the next upcoming speaker is a great entrepreneur who is going to be presenting around data science in healthcare. So we're moving from AgTech to a completely different topic, but that's where all the fun of big data days is. With that, I would like to ask everyone to put their hands together for Navin. And Navin, this was a fascinating topic. I personally always think that these kind of practical examples are the whole reason why we're doing this kind of conferences. I see a lot of people are clapping, so I think the audience agrees. Thanks so much for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom today, and I hope I can count on you again in any of our upcoming events because this topic is far from finished.
Jan, on behalf of Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, our heartfelt gratitude for inviting us to speak at Big Data Days. I think it's been a wonderful session, and this is your successful third year. I look forward to the fourth year upcoming next. Enterprise Big Data Framework, wonderful
Thank
job.
you.
MDEC is happy to support. For those who want to come and talk to us, please, we are right here. This is the phase. With that, signing off. Stay safe and always be data driven.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
so much,
much.
Navin. It's a pleasure.
Take care.